Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with this week's Wednesday Wisdom guest, but first, as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. So don't hit that fast forward button. Take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Wednesday Wisdom interview, and then go and check out these sponsors. I think you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper for their support of the podcast. You know, Gipper is the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for your athletic department to look like it's Division I, looking like it's professional grade. Gipper is used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. Create, share, and schedule all your social media content in one simple platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 Booster Club software program. Booster Hub does everything. It handles volunteer signups, handles volunteer changes. You know it's going to happen. Nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays engaged. Things like sponsorship payments, concession fees. Booster Hub is the platform your boosters need. It's the platform they deserve. Go to boosterhub.com. Find out all the great ways that they can help you and your program. Booster Hub. We also want to say thank you to Hometown. Hometown's suite of solutions includes things like, well, digital ticketing, of course, but how about fee-free fundraising through School Funder, athletic website construction? The Hometown list goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, even a head coach, Hometown's going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your entire community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. And as always, don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, how about your parents? You're really missing out on a great opportunity. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that really connects you with everybody in your program. athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. If you or someone you know is looking for a top-of-the-line industry standard and yet very affordable and fast turnaround masters in athletic administration, you need to look no further than Ohio University. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got their masters through the Ohio program. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the platform. So did our students and our parents. Go to huddle.com. Join the millions of users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, facilities, communication. Home Campus does all of these things and more and does them better and faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. Check out Home Campus today. Tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and their content creation program, Beacon Creative. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but now with their content services program, they've got a dedicated team of writers and designers that are going to work with you to help make your digital tributes shine. Reach out to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Click on Content Services for more information. You're going to be glad you did. And finally, we want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule a live web demo today. sidelineinteractive.com. And again, tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. Regular listeners will certainly recognize today's guest. Julie Kelly is back with us. If you're new to the podcast, Julie is a certified master athletic administrator. She's the director of athletics at Providence Classical Christian Academy. That's in Arkansas. Does a tremendous job, with her programs, coming off a multi state championship year. It's not the only way we measure success, but it's certainly nice to have those championship banners. I've got to know Julie over my career as an athletic director. She's always been a contributor to the podcast. We love having her back. Julie Kelly, welcome back to Wednesday Wisdom.
Thank you, Jake. I'm so excited to be here again. I appreciate you having me back on the show.
Oh no, always. You've got a regular spot anytime you want to come on. You and I were talking before we started recording, and you shared, a couple of let's say growth experiences that you've had this year. I think I got to bring you back quicker and have you share a couple of the other ones, but I'm just going to step out of the way and let you share. What do you have for our listeners on this episode of Wednesday Wisdom?
Yeah. So, every year we kind of grow a little bit differently with things that we learn as we're coaching our coaches. And today I want to talk about something that I learned a little bit about this year, and that's about leading a multi-generational coaching staff. And I'm sure a lot of athletic directors have some of the same issues and struggles that maybe I did. One of the unique things about athletics is that you can have a 22-year-old first-year coach working alongside a coach who might be in their 60s or 70s, who has spent decades in education and athletics. In our department here at Providence, we have a really wide range of ages and experience levels. And honestly, that can be one of the greatest strengths of a program if it is handled well. I think sometimes when we talk about diversity, we automatically think about race, gender, or background, and those things absolutely matter. But generational diversity matters too. Different generations think differently, they communicate differently, they lead totally differently, and they respond differently to change. And I think as athletic directors, part of our responsibility is learning how to lead all of those people well while keeping everyone united around the same vision. One thing that I have learned is that every generation brings different strengths to an athletic department. So our younger coaches often bring energy and excitement and creativity. They have strong connections with students. They usually adapt pretty quickly to technology, social media, and any new trends in coaching or communication, right? They're often willing to try new things and think outside the box. At that same time, younger coaches are still growing in areas like conflict management, handling difficult parent conversations. Sometimes they're a little bit timid, or navigating the emotional pressure that can come with being in a leadership position. And that's not criticism. It simply comes with experience and time. And then you have these veteran coaches who bring incredible wisdom and perspective. They've seen the highs and lows of athletics. They understand how to build relationships over time. They understand how to lead through adversity, how to keep their emotions in check and steady when things are difficult. And many of them have spent decades investing in kids and their communities. But at the same time, veteran coaches may struggle a little bit with adapting to rapid changes in technology. Some of them may also have some struggles in communication. Especially I see that in some of my coaches that they have a hard time interacting sometimes with the way that today's students interact socially and emotionally. But one of the biggest things I try to remember as a leader is that I don't need every coach to lead the exact same way. I need them to uphold the exact same values and standards that we have here at our school. I think sometimes that leaders, myself included, make the mistake of trying to create clones instead of creating alignment. And this year, I shared a story with you earlier, and I'm not going to share that story today because I didn't ask my coaches if I could share it. But there was a situation where I expected something of my younger coaches to do, and they didn't really do it the way that that I thought that they should. I didn't handle it the best way. And then after reflecting on that, I wish I could have gone back and handled that situation differently. I did read a book that has kind of helped um, me improve on this a little bit this year. And it's by Tim Elmore, and it just talks about the differences in diversity. When you first look at the book, you're thinking it's about gender and race, but it really is about generational diversity. So I would encourage our listeners to look that up. But younger coaches are great because they lead with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. Veteran coaches may lead with more calmness and consistency. And both of those leadership styles can be effective if they're rooted in integrity, professionalism, and care for student athletes, obviously. And I think this was a reminder for me that I have to be careful not to confuse being different with being wrong. So just because my coaches lead differently, it's not that they're leading in a wrong way. And communication is probably one of the biggest challenges when leading across generations. Younger coaches prefer quick communication. They like text messages, group chats. They use their digital calendars and they have fast responses. Whereas I noticed that my veteran coaches may prefer more face-to-face meetings, phone calls, or more detailed conversations. They are also more likely to use paper calendars because that's just their culture and, kind of how they were raised. And neither approach is necessarily wrong. It's just different. And, one thing that I've learned is that leadership often becomes translation work between generations. Sometimes we're helping younger coaches understand why veteran coaches value structure and experience. And then other times we're helping veteran coaches understand why younger coaches value flexibility. They value a work-life balance a little bit differently. They value innovation a little bit differently. And I also think it's important not to stereotype people based on age, because not every young coach is entitled or impatient. And we kind of hear that sometimes, right? And not every older coach is resistant to change. So when we start labeling people instead of listening to them, we create division inside our department. And another thing that I do believe in strongly is mentorship. And I think mentorship should go both directions because veteran coaches have so much to offer young coaches. They can teach leadership, program building, how to handle pressure, managing difficult parents, and just maintaining perspective through difficult seasons. But younger coaches have valuable things to offer too. They often help departments improve technology, communication strategies, branding. They're really good at that social media engagement and just understanding the current student culture because they're a little bit closer to that. The healthiest athletic departments are the ones where people are continue learning from each other instead of competing with each other. Now, of course, generational differences can sometimes create conflict. And like I mentioned, communication, work-life balance, discipline, scheduling, and even what professionalism looks like. An older coach may think that if you're going to coach a basketball game, you should show up in a suit and tie, where our younger coaches, it's more acceptable now to wear your tennis shoes and, pullover, maybe like an athletic pullover like what I'm wearing now. But when those moments happen, I think it's important to address issues early and focus on the mission instead of personalities. And most generational conflict is really not bad intent. It usually is just different perspective. And as a leader, as the athletic director, my job is to help people move forward, understanding of each other instead of frustration with each other. And at the end of the day, the culture has to be stronger than the age differences. Because we really want coaches who care deeply about students, who pursue excellence, who communicate well, and who represent the school with integrity and professionalism. And those standards apply whether someone's 23 years old or whether they're 73 years old, right? And so, honestly, one of the best things about leading a diverse coaching staff is realizing that no single generation has all the answers. The younger coaches bring energy and fresh new ideas. Veteran coaches bring wisdom and perspective. And when those things work together instead of against each other, students are the ones who benefit in really powerful ways. And so, as ADs, we're just not managing schedules, budgets, or facilities. We're leading people, and leading people well means learning how to value every generation that is at the table.
Wow, so many great thoughts. Yeah, the generational diversity component. You're spot on with that, and I think as I was listening to you, I was just having flashbacks to when I was an AD. I think ADs, we have that all-encompassing vision, and one of the hardest things is to delegate and let that assistant AD or let that coach that has some desire to grow have that opportunity. And then once you've delegated, now as you said, you've got a way of doing things, and
Mhm.
their way might not be the same. It might even be better, but because it's different, we're looking at it, side-eyed. And it took me longer than I wish it took to get more comfortable with delegating and then completely trusting people to do things
Me
in their
too.
way. So don't feel like you're alone in that. Um, and again, you talk about that young coach providing the enthusiasm. Sometimes they have some good ideas, and that veteran
Mhm.
coach, they've got the wisdom, but sometimes they can get set in their ways. And hey, if you tried this, you'd find you have a lot more time or something like that. Um, Again, all your observations are spot on. Let's say moving forward, you've got your 2026-27 back to school coaches meeting coming up in a few months now. Okay. How are you going to incorporate, say, this theme with your coaches? So, and I'm sure they do know, but that they can see, hey, this is and these are my words, this is
Yeah.
a safe place for innovation, or Coach Kelly, she's got our backs. What are some things that you do intentionally to help foster and continue the culture that you've developed there at Providence?
Yeah, one of the things I noticed that I had to do more intentionally this year is that some of my younger coaches, when I offered feedback, took it as criticism. And so working together just to help them understand that I'm not offering criticism, this is coaching. And sometimes they forget too that as they're coaching student athletes, what it feels like to be coached. Because and also, I think I shared with you my own growth of understanding it's all right if they do things differently than how I want them done. And also reminding myself that I don't want to inhibit their growth, right? Because I want them to grow. I want them to learn. I want them to be able to grow in their careers. And so one of the things is over communicating expectations and my coaches even shared some of that feedback with me, that sometimes as we get older, we assume that people know what the expectation is and what is being required of them. And I even had a coach this week that was like, I'm so good academically. Like if I have a box that I can check, if I see the rubric, it makes me easy to understand like what is being requested of me. Well, we know that we don't always get a rubric in life, right? But it has reminded me that I need to be better about setting clear expectations. And, we all know clarity is kindness, right? But I need to work at being clear with my coaches so that we do not have that communication barrier. Because I want them to grow and I don't want them to feel, especially the younger coaches, like they're getting in trouble or like they haven't met a certain standard. For me, it's just making sure that I'm doing an effective job as their leader of communicating and understanding how they learn, how they grow, and how they receive information.
Yeah, again, kids, we think of kids and there's different learning styles. Well, our coaches, they're just big kids. And
Yeah.
so we've got to figure out the best way to deliver information to them. And, you talked about, different is not necessarily wrong. One of my favorite cliches that I would use frequently talking about this is, it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's just different. And, if it's a good thing, then, hey, we're going to embrace it. We're going to use it and try to get others to appreciate too. Julie, always a treat to have you on the podcast. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more about how you run your program. And listeners, you have a tremendous resource here. What's the best way our listeners can get a hold of Julie Kelly?
Okay, yeah. I'm not ever given out my cell phone number before, but I love it when ADs reach out to me. So if they want to text, call, my number is 479-220-9353, or my email is ad@providence-academy.com. And so I'm usually pretty quick to respond. So just reach out to me either way.
Well, once again, Julie Kelly, a certified master athletic administrator. She's the director of athletics at Providence Classical Christian Academy in Arkansas. Thanks so much for coming on. All the best as you wrap up your spring sports season, and hope you get some time off this summer to get some downtime.
Thank you. You too, Jake. Hopefully I'll get to make it to Florida this summer. That's my goal, and get that beautiful sun.
Well, you and your husband come on down. We'll take you out for a sunset cruise on the pontoon boat, have a little barbecue, some beverages. We'd love to host you.
All right. I'm going to take you up on that soon. Okay.
You bet. I'm holding you to that.
All right.
For listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. If you missed Julie's segments previously, go back to our YouTube and Spotify archives and take a listen. We do Wednesday Wisdom just about every week, and just about every day we try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Julie Kelly, what a pro. We didn't even mention she was the AD of the year this year in Arkansas. Her school's got the QPA award. Julie does a tremendous job. Make sure you reach out and connect with her. Make sure you reach out and connect with our sponsors, too. These are all great companies. You should have them working for you. Let's give them a shout out one more time. Home Campus. Go to homecampus.com. Sideline Interactive. You'll find them at sidelineinteractive.com. Booster Hub, the #1 booster club software program. Boosterhub.com. Gipper. Turn your social media into a destination. That's Gipper.com. Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative. You'll find them at vitalsignswalloffame.com. Hometown. Check out all the things that Hometown can do for you at hometown.com. Athletic Surveys. You'll find them at athleticsurveys.com. Huddle. I used it as a football coach. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com. And Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. If you or somebody you know is looking to get their masters in athletic administration, tell them to check out Ohio University. Thanks as always for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.